Good evening, fellow forex traders, and welcome to another exciting day in the markets. It's Tuesday, October 30th. Happy almost Halloween. Yeah, let's get into it because it was today was fun for me, mostly because everything I said last night kind of seemed to come true. So I was happy about the way things turned out, and realized there's obviously an element of luck to that. It's not like I'm some oracle that can, call every move in the markets, but I got lucky, and I will take it. So, excuse me. Let's look at what's going on. The major indices moved up today. S&P 500 up almost 1.5%. Q's up 1.65%, and Russell 2000 up 2%, and that's kind of what you want to see when you have a directional bias, is that small caps are leading the way. Wow, I don't know why I have all these here. So Russell's up more than everybody else. It's kind of like what you expect to see when something's moving the way you want it to. So I'm happy to see that. I think there's more left to this bounce, this rally, whatever you want to call it. I'm not calling it a bottom yet by any means, but I think there's more left here. I think Russell has an opportunity to move somewhere up in this range at a minimum, maybe higher. I'd love to see, NASDAQ test the 200-day moving average. I'd love to see the SPY come up and test the 200-day moving average, and then just kind of see how things react at that point. The big news after hours today was Facebook earnings. And it was having a pretty rocky start. It missed, quote unquote, revenue expectations, and was trading down about 4.5% until, drum roll, earnings call with Zuck. So he must have said some stuff that kind of calmed things down. You see it's trading up 3.2% right now. If you look at the chart after hours, it's a pretty wild ride. A lot of spiking, and then now finally settling down here. So that's going to be positive overall. When you look at, after-hour indices, here's somewhere in here, right here is where we closed. This is kind of the volatility you saw. I'll zoom in a bit here from the Facebook earnings and the dip and the recovery, and so we're trading higher from where we closed the day. Not by much, but some. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see a tailwind going in tomorrow. Here is S&P 500 after hours. Also, trading slightly higher, but consolidating nicely. And it seems like the pieces are in place to see another green day tomorrow. So I really want to talk about dollar-yen now, because last night we had a pretty good discussion, picked it apart quite a lot, and at the time of last night's video, I was talking, and we were trading right about, I want to say it was this candle here, probably right about here, because I remember it was popping up a little bit, and remember, I was saying I was long. You could be long with a very tight stop loss here, 112.30, 112.20 if you wanted to get a little extra room. I was long from 112.35, and for me to go in harder or be super confident that this trade was going to resolve higher, I wanted to see a break of this purple trend line and a break of these highs, which were yesterday's highs. It backed off here. And once it broke that, it was just kind of a beautiful churn higher, a little stumble here as markets were correcting later in the day, but nice follow through to the upside. And we're trading through 113 now, which I think is fantastic if you're bullish. So far, everything looks great. We're above this high, which, is probably the one I was looking to most for resistance. We saw it backed off here initially, popped back through. You see the moving averages here finally crossing over. That 50's coming through, the 100's curling up, the 200's starting to curl higher. This is the hourly chart. And yes, we saw that happen over here. The 200 wasn't actually heading higher. It is now, so that is a slight difference, and I would give it a nod there. But just because this is happening, is what I'm saying here, does not mean it's a done deal. It doesn't mean we're heading, ever higher. But I think all signs point to, the likelihood that we are. So if you're in this trade already from last night's video, consider moving your stop loss up. Get it up here just below 112.65, 112.60, below these wicks. Protect some of these gains, and let this baby run a little bit. If you're not in the trade yet, it's a lot tougher. I'm not adding at this point, mostly because I'm already in pretty heavy, and there's just no point for me to add. My best advice: wait for another setup in a different pair, and just be patient. There's no sense in chasing this thing, even if it does pop another 70, 100 pips tomorrow. You'll be kicking yourself, but overall, I think you're doing the right thing by waiting. Here's a 4-hour look. You see this 50 crossing up through the 100. It looks nice. It looks like, and the daily, another big green, strong candle today. Above, we haven't been this high since October 10th, since here, and really October 9th, if you want to look at a closing basis or an opening basis, I should say, October 9th, really. So, again, there's a lot of headroom here. We're kind of chewing through this level. I don't think it's going to be a whole ton of resistance. I wouldn't be surprised if we're trading through this by U.S. equity open tomorrow. And I really think 114.40, 114.50 zone, this trend line that we've been watching for a while, I think that's in play. And it'll be interesting to see where U.S. equity indices are at that point, if they're testing those 200-day moving averages I talked about earlier, or, what's going to happen here. It's definitely a place where I'll be taking some of my position off, maybe all of it, depending on how we react, but it's hard to say what happens. Do we back off again? Do we bust through? Busting through is pretty bullish, so it'll be fun to watch. And I'm not looking at a whole lot else. I did short a little euro today just because it keeps going down, and I keep kicking myself that I didn't enter this trade when I wanted to, when I should have. So I shorted just a little bit of that, and I'm keeping a tight stop loss kind of in this 114 zone up above these moving averages. The trade I should have taken earlier this week, I covered this in Sunday night's video, was Euro Sterling. It's been a beautiful trade, beautiful trend, and if you've been patient and just sat on this, you're making pretty easy money. I covered it here. We were talking about it kind of in this zone on Sunday. Yeah. No, maybe it was earlier than that. Somewhere in here. It was the kind of 0.888 down to 0.887 zone. So this is a great run today, and I expect it will continue. But you might get a pullback here. You might not, obviously. But if you're in this trade, keep moving that stop loss up and just collect some gains. But really, that's all I'm kind of keeping an eye on. Dollar yen's my my favorite trade right now. Sterling keeps falling. It's like, seems insanely overextended, but you could have got it, if you were brave enough to sell into this nasty trend, which we should have been, keeping tight stop losses here. See how easy it was to make money on this. But it feels like we could get a pop here again, but here, this is going to be, let's go to put this on now, because this is going to be nice kind of resistance zone here if we get that high. Might not. But, yeah. So there's definitely opportunities still out there. Dollar yen is still what I'm banking mostly on and keeping an eye on, just because it's so correlated with equities and it's been such a great trade lately that I can't bring myself to watch much else. And I'm sure that will change soon enough, but right now it remains interesting. So I hope everyone's doing well, and yesterday's video pointed in the right direction to have a great day today. Not much new advice today except keep holding on to that dollar yen position. All right, talk to you guys tomorrow, and have a great day.